government's approach lead to further violence? Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.
Okay, to discuss this, I'm joined now by Garuba Shehu. He's the spokesman for Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigerian president. Thank you very much for joining us. Thousands of troops have been deployed to the southeast. Do you need them?
The deployment of the troops to the southeast is part of a regular military exercise. There is no extraordinary plan to deploy troops. These exercises are being carried out in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. And so therefore, there's nothing extraordinary about this one.
When people look at the tension that emerged last month on the 50th anniversary of the start of the Biafra War that killed more than 1 million people, when they look at the tension, when they see the people out on the streets and they see IPOB labeled a terrorist group and they see a crackdown on them, they match the two. They see the troop deployment with all of that and they see the government as fearing that this is going to flare up, therefore you want to put a lid on it. Do you accept and understand why people connect the two?
Well, people are entitled to their opinions. However, this military exercise was in our national budget. It was appropriated for more than a year ago. It was written into the national budget. When it was planned for, there was no anticipation that there would be this sort of disturbance by IPOB. IPOB has rightfully been declared a terrorist organization by the Nigerian government. It is engaged in terror activities, illegal taxation, use of weapons against the armed forces and the police, and attack on the national institutions. So therefore, they have been declared a terrorist organization because they have clearly indicated their territorial ambitions, that they want to capture not only the states that are politically, ethnically contiguous to them, but even states that are neighboring, those states. Somebody had to act.
So let's just put aside those who might have attacked the police and look more generally at some of the grievances of some of the people there. They feel, as ethnic Igbos, they feel discriminated against as people in their own state. They say there's no development. They say no money goes to the region. They say that President Buhari has appointed Muslims into senior positions at their expense. How do you address those grievances?
Anyone who is knowledgeable of the facts on the ground will dismiss those claims as being mere propaganda designed to just deceive people who don't have the facts. The Constitution of Nigeria has guarantees for the protection of each ethnic and geographical entity. For instance, our Constitution says there must be a federal minister in the cabinet from each of the 36 states of the Federation. Each of the 5 states in that zone not only has a minister each, 4 of the 5 have senior cabinet ministers. In the case of the president, even his own state is represented in the cabinet by a junior minister. So all this talk about discrimination is politically motivated in order to black paint the government of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Let me give you the president's words himself, and you would know these words. You're his spokesman. He said, naturally, the constituencies that gave me 97% of the vote cannot, in all honesty, be treated in the same way as constituencies that gave me 5%. I think this is a political reality. Those are his words, not mine. So with that in mind, can you understand why these people feel as if they're being punished for not voting for Buhari?
I was present in the hall in the United States in Washington where he made this statement. This was extrapolated out of the context. He said, usually, normally, in the norm of politics, if they give you 95%, you expect to give them this kind of support. But he said, in my own case, I'm going to abide by the Constitution to ensure that nobody is left out. So please, the entire statement should be taken in its full context.
Do you consider Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of this IPOB group, a terrorist? Or can you talk to him at least?
The laws of Nigeria are very clear about that. A court of Nigeria has determined that already. So I have no personal opinion on the matter.
But the more the government cracks down on him and his group, the more people seem to rally around him based on ethnicity and based on identity in a region that has a history of trouble based on that. So maybe would you consider that's perhaps a bad idea?
No, on the contrary. Since the declaration of IPOB as a terrorist group, calm has returned to the region. And don't forget that it is not the government and the center that alone proscribed the IPOB. The governors of the 5 states in that region collectively determined that IPOB is an illegal organization. So there is consensus of opinion between the rulers of that region and the government and the center.
I want to ask you your opinion on what former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said recently. Now, I understand he's likely a presidential contender. He has a dog in this fight. But he said he's in favor of meeting the demands for a looser federation of Nigeria's states, of giving some of these restive regions more autonomy. What do you think of that?
Nigeria is a democratic country. Individuals are entitled to hold opinions.
Is that a good idea?
Whether good or bad, it's an opinion held by an individual. It is guaranteed by our constitution. He's entitled to his opinion.
If I can ask you to respond to what Nnamdi Kanu said to the BBC, he said, basic human development, basic economic development, basic social development can no longer be attained for the simple reason that there exists in the polity mutual suspicion, mutual hatred, mutual resentment. Again, this man is using the fact that this region is underdeveloped to push his agenda. Isn't it in the government's interest to push and perhaps inject more money and development into the region so that he doesn't have a well of grievances from which to draw his support?
Government is doing everything it can to improve, to bring development to that region and to all other parts of the country.
Okay, Garuba Shehu, I thank you very much for coming on the Newsmakers. Thank you very much for joining us.